Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the, what's today? January 28th meeting of Columbia Heights Public Schools. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Molly, would you please begin with roll call?
Larkin.
Hi, here.
Mueller.
Here.
Severson.
Here.
Palmer.
Here.
A Samurai. Lewis here. And Superintendent Kathy Kelly.
Here. All right. Our mission statement is, let me move this in. Creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. Our core values are community, excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, courage, and innovation. Let's move on to the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to move that forward?
So moved.
Second.
Laura and John, any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, Superintendent Kelly, do we have any correspondence?
Madam Chair and members, there's no correspondence tonight.
All right, thank you. Oh, I skipped the announcements, thank you. It has right here in my notes, read. Apparently I don't know how to read. All right, let's go backwards and do the announcements. On February 11th, which is a Tuesday at 5:30, there'll be a school board meeting, a subcommittee meeting on policy in the superintendent's conference room at 5:30. On February 11th, which is a Tuesday at 7 p.m., there will be a regular school board meeting right here in the community room. On February 17th, there is no school for President's Day. On February 18th, Tuesday at 5:30, there'll be a school board work session right here in the community room. And on February 25th, Tuesday night at 7 p.m. is caucus night. So there will not be a school board meeting. Typically is. So, all right. Now's the time where we move on to communications to the board. At this time, any citizen or employee may briefly address the school board. The board will listen to the brief remarks, ask clarifying questions, and, if desired, request that the administration follow up. The board will not take action at this meeting on requests presented at this time. Do we have any requests? All right. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda, which includes the personnel report and the treasurer's report from October 2019. We have a motion to move that one forward.
So moved.
Lorian?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right. We have a fun part. I'm excited to actually get to do this. We have a resolution for acknowledgements of contributions. It's kind of a fun part. And I will ask for a motion to move that forward. Lorian?
Second.
John. Give it to John. All right, then I'm going to read it, and then we'll have a discussion if necessary. All right, acknowledgements of contributions resolution. Is that me? All right, okay, keep going. All right, whereas Minnesota statute 21B.02 permits school boards to receive for the benefit of the district, to bequest donations or gifts for any proper purpose and apply the same to the purpose designated. In that behalf, the board may act as trustee of any trust created for the benefit of the district and for the benefit of the pupils thereof. Therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Columbia Heights Public Schools, Independent School District Number 13, that the school board accepts with appreciation the contributions detailed in the background in the amount of $27,487. A donation, and detailed background includes monetary gifts. A donation of $1,000 was made to the Columbia Heights High School Bowling Team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for team gear and awards banquet. A donation of $1,800 was made to Columbia Heights High School Boys Tennis Team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for tournament and indoor tennis. A donation of $400 was made to Columbia Heights High School Football Team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for Team Gatorade. A donation of $1,165 was made to Columbia Heights High School Girls Basketball Team by the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for Team Gear Food and Awards Banquet. A donation of $1,800 was made to the Columbia Heights girls tennis team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for tournament and indoor tennis. A donation of $800 was made to the Columbia Heights High School synchro team by the Columbia Boosters for team travel bags. A donation of $88 was made to the Columbia Heights High School synchro team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for team gear and awards banquet. A donation of $2,500 was made to the Columbia Heights Activities by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for homecoming fireworks. A donation of $300 was made to Columbia Heights High School volleyball team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for team gear and awards banquet. A donation of $300 was made to the Columbia Heights High School lacrosse team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for team gear and awards at the banquet. A donation of $600 was made to the Columbia Heights High School boys basketball team by the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for tournament food and funds. A donation of $725 was made to the Columbia Heights boys basketball team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for team gear and awards banquet. A donation of $653 was made to the Columbia Heights High School boys basketball team by the Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for team awards. A donation of $88 was made to the Columbia Heights softball team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for team gear and awards banquet. A donation of $3,500 was made to the Columbia Heights High School baseball team by Columbia Heights Athletic Boosters for netting on fence. A donation of $6,750 was made to the Columbia Heights Public Schools by Rasmussen Northeast Bank Foundation for even fee, financial literacy, and vault. A donation of $325 was made to Columbia Academy by the Navarro family for lunch accounts. A donation of $2,000 was made to Valley View Elementary by St. Timothy's Lutheran Church for student needs. A donation of $143 was made to Valley View by Life Touch for student needs. In-kind donations. A donation of gift cards was made to Valley View Elementary by St. Timothy's Lutheran Church for student needs, estimated value $200. A donation of mittens was made to Valley View Elementary by Artie Bircher for student needs, estimated value $210. A donation of mittens was made to Valley View Elementary by St. Philip's Lutheran Church for student needs, estimated value $160. A donation of supplies was made to Valley View Elementary by Your Cause, Wells Fargo for student needs, estimated value $465. Donation of supplies was made to Valley View Elementary by St. Philip's Lutheran Church for student needs, estimated value of $500. Donation of field trip was made to Valley View Elementary by Financial One for students, estimated value $700. Donation of gift cards was made to Valley View Elementary by St. Timothy's Lutheran Church for student needs, estimated value of $50. Donation of mittens was made to Highland Elementary by Artie Bircher for student needs, estimated value of $100. Donation of winter coats was made to Valley View Elementary by Barb Nundahl for student needs, estimated value $91. Donation of hockey equipment was made to Valley View Elementary by North Metro Youth Hockey for student needs, estimated value of $234. Total fiscal year 2019-2020 monetary contributions to date, $187,622.30. Wow. Discussion. Besides wow, I mean, carry on.
The generosity of the community for, being involved with the athletic boosters and then supporting our students we're so thankful. I mean, it is so great for the kids and the whole community supporting them. It's fabulous to see.
I want to echo what Laura says about the whole community support. We've got the athletic boosters, which obviously did an amazing amount of donations. And then we've got our local churches and private citizens and foundations and businesses within the area that are all supporting our students and their activities. And I just was almost started tearing up as Natty was reading this. It's very much appreciated, the support that we're getting from our community.
Yeah, I would echo that. Just saying, it reminds you what a wonderful place this is, what a special community it is to be a part of. So thank you to everybody. Anybody else? All right, that will be a roll call vote then.
Larkin?
Aye.
Mueller?
Aye.
Severson?
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Lewis? Aye.
All right, motion carries. resolution passes. You pass a resolution, I suppose, right? All right, we'll move on to the discussion items, and we'll begin with reports from members of the board. And you had to see this coming a mile away, but we're going to start with John Larkin again.
Again,
All right.
I actually figured that was coming. That's fine. I had the opportunity to attend the Tri-Metro Honors Band. Actually, it was band, choir, and orchestra last night at Fiddler High School. An amazing performance. They did a phenomenal job taking a bunch of talented kids from all around and putting them all in a room together for 7 hours, and then the different arts that they presented last night was amazing, so really enjoyed that. That's it.
Orion?
Okay. Since our last meeting, I attended the work session and some middle school basketball games. Those are really kind of fun to watch. I also attended the Columbia Academy PTO meeting as liaison to Columbia Academy. At that meeting, they had discussed conferences and timing of those conferences as they were looking at the school calendar for next year. They also discussed the sixth grade orientation and getting some feedback on that. The PTO was planning on a dinner for the teachers during conferences. And then also discussed the e-learning options for weather days at the PTO meeting there. I also then attended the Columbia Heights City Council meeting last night as liaison to the City Council. Lots of good information there. They did have a first reading of an ordinance change that would allow census workers to have access to multi-tenant buildings during the 10-year census. So that's something that they will be discussing again on February 10th. On February 8th, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., the city will have their City Expo at the library. So an opportunity for folks to get out and learn about things going on in the city. And wanted to mention that they are having a blood drive on Wednesday, February 26th from 10 to 4 in the police department training room. And that's kind of in conjunction with their coffee and coffee with a cop that day as well.
All right.
Lots
Lots
going
of
on in the
stuff
city.
going on. All right. Laura?
Also, the work study session. Then I attended the 916 organizational meeting, and lots of great discussion always there, and looking forward to some potential projects and, coming up in the new year. A lot of building capacity is kind of the main theme that we're working on right now. Is being able to build into the home, and be able to educate these higher needs students so that we don't have to build more buildings, basically. So there is a pilot going on over at St. Francis that we're keeping a close eye on. Then I attended the NSBA conferences, leadership conference. That's always a good time. Lots of great information that comes from those conferences. And I had a lovely meeting this morning with Superintendent Kathy Kelly and Zena Stedlik about some of the things that I learned. And hopefully we can see some more of that in the process. And I think that's it for me.
All right.
I'll try to tighten that up a little.
They're doing great. It's fun to
There's
hear
a lot
what you
to talk about.
Well, yeah, it's cool to hear what you learn at those different things too. And I know you shared some things at our works session last week. So. Molly?
Yeah, I attended the listening session at the library. Unfortunately, Natty and I didn't have any visitors, but we were there and hoping that people would come. So we'll continue to reach out at different community events and schools and just try and be available for people. Attended the work session last week and the subcommittee policy meeting before this. Also attended some girls and boys basketball games at the high school level and had a lot of conversations with community members. Thank you.
All right. I also have had a lot of conversations with community members, which is great. Enjoy talking to people. Was able to attend a combined band concert between the middle school and the high school. So it was at the middle school, so they combined, and it was cool to hear both the middle school band. It was fun. I saw some swim meets and a boys basketball game. Big win, 100 points, crazy. I also, as Molly mentioned, attended the listening session, and that's maybe to report out that nobody came, and maybe to put that in the kind of the data pool for our community engagement stuff, because we had talked about that being an outreach to go outside of the schools. A lack of attendance would say that's not a great touch point then. And so as we think about community engagement in the future, asking if we're missing the mark on that one would probably be something to kind of stick away for future discussion. Went to the subcommittee meeting on policy, the chair meeting just prior to this, and our work study session. All right. Superintendent Kelly?
Madam Chair and members, Executive Director of Educational Services Zena Stenvik and I attended a superintendent seminar focused on managing change in increasingly complex times. The information presented there and the skills that we practice there will be useful in our succession planning and also for initiatives that we have unfolding both this year and next year in the school district. Attended a full-day district in-service focused on equity and culturally responsive teaching. It was very well done, and I would just like to say special thanks to the Department of Teaching and Learning for making it all possible. It was a great day of learning for me and for everybody else in the organization. Attended the Executive Metro EXU board meeting. The auditors were there, and they presented the financials on Metro EXU, and they're in a very sturdy position. When we're looking at that, they had a clean audit, but they had one little finding, which was segregation of duties, which we have ourselves, and they're even smaller than we are. So, attended the Minnesota Regional Centers of Excellence meeting regarding winter academic benchmarks for school improvement plans, and I just want to say that they had a very prescriptive amount of information they wanted, in that both the Director of Teaching and Learning, Tara Tuckrell, and Executive Director Zena Stenvik did a really fine job of fielding all those questions, and actually they said they took down some notes and said they would like to share it with others. So thank you to them. Attended the District Finance Committee meeting this week, and the Columbia Heights Public Schools audit was presented, along with the financial forecast. We talked about the special education cross-subsidy. And then I think the hit of the evening, I have to say, was the tour. They had a behind-the-curtain tour of some of the building projects going on at the high school. And people were just kind of blown away about the size and scope of the projects. So met with Member Palmer and Zena on some MSBA conference ideas. Attended the executive construction meeting this morning to just keep current on what's going on. We seem to be on track to finish, and to finish on time, and that we still remain on budget. So that's compliments to all of those involved there. This afternoon had a meeting with a city council member to talk about some of the building projects, and did a little tour, so that was a great coffee and conversations. And then we had a policy meeting, a chair meeting, and now this meeting, so a great time was had by all at all of those. Thank you for your time.
All right. Moving on, very exciting. We're going to have a building vision card discussion with Tara Tuckrell and Jason Kuhlman.
From Valley View to share Valley View Elementary Strategic Direction Card, their vision card tonight. Our mission of creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner, all belong, all succeed. And really incorporating all values throughout Valley View as we look at the strategic directions. This will be an informational update, so no governance will follow. And Principal Kuhlman really will be focusing in on the 4 strategic directions tonight. He'll be sharing the baseline from the 2018-2019 data. And I know he was not here last school year, but he really does use that information as a baseline for the goals and the work that they're doing this school year.
Superintendent Kelly, Chair Severson, members of the board. As we get started, like Director Tuckrell said, I own this data. This is our baseline where we're starting from, and I've taken a lot of this into account in future planning that we're currently doing. So as we get started, you can see the percent of the staff participating in health and wellness is in the intervention stage. We're working hard, and we've actually increased that immensely this year through the help of teaching and learning to get our teachers looking at how do they take care of themselves as they take care of our staff or our children. Did you want to add?
No, I also wanted to add in that December 23rd, we really did focus on wellness, looking at the social emotional support for our students, but also as a staff, how are we supporting each other and ourselves in order to do that? And then as Superintendent Kelly mentioned, on the 20th of January, we had in-service focused on equity, but and also culturally responsive teaching, which really did look at supporting trauma-informed practices as well. And how do we support each other in that work? And so it was that throughout this whole school year, we really have been thinking about how do we support our students and each other in the work as we're moving to support our students more with trauma and ACEs.
Okay.
Sorry, moved
She's
you
really
on fast.
sorry. The number of teacher absences has decreased, so we're in the vision stage, and it reduced about 14%. We're really working hard on keeping that going down. We like it when our teachers are there and we know they can provide the best. The number of student days absent is in the baseline, and that was concerning to us. We started a pilot program last year for attendance, and then started it this year, or reinitiated it in September. We're also working really hard with our social worker to hit the people that are maybe chronic absentees to inform them, not punish, but to inform them of the importance of being at school. So that's really taking hold and showing some effect. Mental health screener and the percent of identified students offered services, we're in the vision stage. We are continuing to work on that. My focus is not only offering, but utilizing. So we are really meeting, we are setting up monthly meetings to check in with our providers to say, how are we supporting, are we filling those spots, and how can we expand that? The number of PD sessions focused on trauma, currently last year was 3, and this year has exceeded that already. Out-of-school suspension incidences, we're in the progressing, so 10 to 15% of our total, or our students were dismissed. We have dramatically decreased that already, just with setting up expectations, talking about our culture at Valley View, and have done a wonderful job. And it'll be fun to report these numbers next year. A number of in-school suspensions were a high concern. As I seen that coming into the building and had conversations, we have dramatically decreased that this year. That is a last resort. All of it is a last resort. We know students who are in school are learning, and if they're not in their classrooms, it's not being effective. Teacher utilization of the LMS, or learning management system. We are in the intervention stage, and we've had conversations with teaching and learning to see how that is utilized best in elementary. Typically is mostly a upper elementary, middle school, high school management system, but looking at it, and one of our committees is a technology committee to see how we can better utilize that. Looking more into Seesaw as a tool to get this work done. Fast reading and math data. 50 to 59% of our students met growth targets, which is baseline. We're looking to increase that much more through a lot of the initiatives that we're doing that I'll talk about later. Students meeting math and math facts targets. We know that's the foundation for any math, especially for higher math. If we need to do, we do a lot more work on that, and I'll speak to that later, but we're incorporating that as a prioritized standard in our PLCs. Number of parents using Parent View, and again, we are looking into this. This is the intervention stage. A lot of our parents, I don't believe, see the value of it, and it also is limited to what it says for elementary students. We are doing a lot of proactive and calling in attendance, tardies, and stuff like that, so parents aren't so much checking into it. We're delivering that information to them before they can look. Percent of principal communications to families was in the 6 to 10 range, and that was kind of hard to dig in to monitor. I wasn't there. I can tell you that's a lot more this year already, but it is what it was. Percent of families enrolled in Seesaw, we have 61 to 70%, so it's progressing. We are looking to increase that. As part of my vision coming in was to create a tech committee to look at that, analyze that, and how are we utilizing it to better reach our parents. Teachers using Seesaw. So this is a little lower than I would like. It was 61 to 70%, so it's in the high concern area. We are pushing and using it more now as compared to last year, and then also looking at how we can utilize it even better.
And right now for that one, 100% of the classroom teachers are using Seesaw. So this says all of the teachers. So the number goes down a little when you think about special education teachers or EL teachers on there, but it is 100% of classroom teachers are currently using it.
Thank you. Events promoting academic achievement, community building throughout family engagement. From my understanding, Valley View has always been very strong in this category, and We Are Vision. We are continuing that and even growing those events. My philosophy is the more we can get the parents in the door, the better they're going to, or the more comfortable they will feel, the more support we can get. So we're really working on that. Percent of families visiting Seesaw at least one time per week. That's 61 to 69%. Again, baseline, not as high as I would like it to be, but we are working on improving that and going forward. Percents of participating in pre-K-5 conferences. Again, Valley View, is, from my understanding, has very high attendance rate, and that has proven true to this fall at 93%, and in the visioning stage. So we're working, that's working very well. Percent of students or percent of parents returning mandatory forms, 81 to 90%. Again, we're working on that. It's in the progressing, so it's adequate. But I know we're always in competition to see who can get the most free and reduced in. Athletics and activities participation, grade 1 through 5. Obviously, elementary doesn't have a lot of athletics, but what we are doing is pulling in a vast number of students into our encore programs. We are growing that. We're growing that through the musical that we'll be putting on, and also before school classes like Ninjas for breakfast or Ninjas in the morning, so like an American Ninja Warrior course, and has really shown a lot of interest in. D1 percent of grade level departments using common planning time, 90% for the 1890 school year, and it is that or even more this year. So we're really utilizing that. Working with the other two elementaries to also coordinate our specialists so that they can work with like department people. Percent of people are using percent of teachers daily using grade level curriculum, instruction aligned to grade level standards, 91 to 95%. So very good. What we're doing is diving in more into our intervention resources, and so that will be growing as well. Annual variation from established budget, we were in 3% of what we were budgeted. Our goals. So these we worked a lot on. We talked about it in Title I and also presented these to staff. So 75% students will be able to articulate and respond to level 1, 2, and 3 questions. These are AVID questions, or COSTAS levels of learning. And integrating these into all areas of our school. So we want students to be able to articulate, is it a factual question, where they're just getting a factual answer? They can pull that information from a book. Is it an inferential question? So a little bit more thinking, a little higher level in COSTAS. Can they use that information of what they know, what they read, and then make an inference? And a level 3 question is a higher level question in COSTA, is more of a critical thinking. So an application, knowledge, inference, and an application. And we know this is the highest level, but it's also a majority of the questions that are asked on the MCAs. So how do we make sure that's embedded? 100% of teachers will utilize weekly PLCs to inform instruction and improve student proficiency by 10% as measured by the reading MCAs. As you can see down below, it says, what are we doing to achieve these goals? We are having everyone's participating in PLCs. Grade level teams are meeting weekly during their prep, and we are talking about data planning for instruction and really working towards it. Some of the work we've also done was prioritizing state standards, literacy and math as you see it. There's a large number of standards, and we have to hone in on those and really go deep. Implementation of Readers Workshop. So getting back to how are we obligating our grade level content, but then also differentiating and personalize that learning to the developmental needs of the students is really critical. Professional development of AVID strategies, so that's going to that goal 1. We have a huge capacity in our staff that are very knowledgeable, and how do we spread that around and utilize that to support our own building? And also getting help from teaching and learning to align with that too. And I think the most important one is utilizing benchmark data to target instruction. So where are students at? Just as we're looking at this vision card to say where was Valley View at in the 18-19 school year and where are we going to go, we're doing the same for students. Where are they at? Where do we need to go with them? And what instructional strategies will meet their needs? Goal number 3, or goal 1 in math, student achievement increased by 5% as measured by the MCAs, math fluency and classroom assessments. So we're really looking in, we did the same thing. We did some prioritization in math, looking at all the math standards and really honed in. What we came to the conclusion of is we need to hit our math facts hard. So we are actually, every PLC in our building has focused on doing that and coming up with some really strong instructional strategies. Because if they can't do the foundational piece, they're not going to do well in the other pieces. So that's been, and we've seen some great success with that already. Vertical articulation of standards. So how does that look when we're talking about the 4 strands of numbers and operations, algebra, data measurement, and geometry? How does that articulate from kindergarten, which we don't think here, kindergartners doing algebra, well they are, but how does that articulate all the way up to 5th grade into the upper grades? But having that and seeing that growth is important for our teachers to do. Content knowledge, professional development. So how do we dive deeper in how to teach math in different ways? Very conceptual and very hands-on. So that's what we're diving into in PLCs and looking and analyzing what are our needs and then bringing in my expertise to say, how can we teach it in different ways that students might learn better from? Same thing again, implementation math workshop to enhance personalized learning, looking at targeting our grade level appropriate content, but then breaking it down to say, what do we need to do for individual students? And that's important, that's aligning with our personalized learning. And then again, most importantly, best for last, the basic math fluency. We have to get those basic math facts going and into the automaticity stage so that when they are getting into that more complex math, that they're able to do it. They can focus on that, not just working on the basics. Questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
Go for it.
Thank you for the information. I know you've got some goals obviously set. Looking at your literacy goals of the 10% improvement in your math of 5%, we know that the Valley View scores have to go up. Do you do you feel that you and your team have the tools and the support that you need to achieve these goals? I mean, looking at a 10% is what needs to happen, but knowing that it's going to take some work to get there.
It's going to take a lot of work. I'm not going to kid you. I believe we have the tools. Teaching and Learning has done a great job of supporting us, have been out there all the time. Everything I've asked, they've been there to provide and help with. I think we have some internal capacity in-house that we're really utilizing. We have some intervention specialists who teach at the college level. We have former literacy coaches, and then we're also partnering with the University of Minnesota. So we have a lot of things in the oven right now. And again, that's why you'll see the difference of 10% in reading and 5% in math is I have to focus in on one and then go more next year. So when I share we're working on a 3 to 5 year plan too, you will see how that's articulated in there. But we are moving and we're seeing growth. We're seeing growth in our benchmark testing. I shared with Kathy some of the results that we have with our PLCs, our early PLCs around literacy, and we're seeing some strong growth. So I'm confident that we're going to make those 10%.
Thank you for your hard work on that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to share with us. And
Thank
again,
you.
welcome to the district. It's
Thank you.
exciting to see what's going to happen over the
It
course
is
of the next year.
exciting. Valley View is a wonderful school, and they're a hardworking staff and great families. We're going to move.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to invite the Community Education Department up. Director Stunkel, would you like to introduce everyone?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly, It is my annual honor to be able to come before you and to share with you the leadership of many of our community ed programs within our department. And this evening we have the community ed coordinator, Jody Gadiant. We have our early childhood manager, Tiffany Grams-Farkas, and we have our adult enrichment and senior programs manager, Amada Marquez Simula. Our mission, of course, is to create worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And of course, with community education, when we say all belong, all succeed, we're talking prenatally all the way through the stages of life. And certainly with our core values, collaborating with community, we strive for excellence in all of our programs. We do extensive collaborations. I believe strongly in our integrity, not only of the staff, but also of our programs. Respect, courage, and innovation, I think, are seen in all of our programs. So this evening, you just see a portion of our leadership team. We come before you with the Blooming Heights program. So you'll see Wes, our agriculture specialist at that point. Kathleen Moriarty, who is our ABE manager, she'll be coming forward at another point. And then, of course, we've got other people such as Tammy Fisher, who provides the Encore Aquatics programming, and then our clerical support with Jasmine Fink and Alexa Zapata. So now I'm going to turn it over to our early childhood manager. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Kristen. Our early childhood programs provide supporting the well-being of all of our students and families. We also strengthen families by supporting our parents. It's our partnership between home and school, and we prepare students for lifelong learning. And then we also are able to provide that collaboration with our special education team. And then our programs under early childhood include ECFE, Early Childhood Family Education, our Pre-K 3 and Pre-K 4 programs, our Early Childhood Screening Program, and then also our one-on-one visiting, our home visiting program. And then some of the things that we do in our early childhood programs is we are able to provide a partnership with the local library, and we are able to do some different story times. So we have Baby Read, Baby Grow, and then we have a family story time that serves a variety of ages. We also offer summer programming at the Circle Terrace Community Center, or community building, and that's a partnership that we have with the police department and also the city, and we provide summer programming. So we started summer classes there last summer, and it was a big success, so we are planning to provide more summer programming there this coming summer. And then we also are able to provide, and it's an opportunity to collaborate with those local families in the community. We also provide programming at our Grand Central Flats housing complex. So every week our staff, our parent educator, and an ECFE teacher go to Grand Central Flats and provide support for families. So they are able to provide an ECFE class actually on site, and so provide that parenting education support and also that child interaction. And then we have our Family Center Presents information workshops. We are doing that monthly, and some of the topics that we're covering are screen time, kindergarten readiness, also emotion coaching, and a variety of other topics. So we're very excited about those. Our Early Childhood Advisory Council is made up of our families and our programs, and they're able to provide programming feedback and then also provide events for all of our families. And then we also, in our building, have the lending library, so families are able to check out books and activities that they can take home. And then another portion of our early childhood programs are our Mini Adventures Child Care program. So there we offer full-day options for families. We have 2 classrooms. Each classroom has up to 20 children, and currently we have 40 children enrolled. Over 75% of them are receiving some type of assistance to be in the program, and that's based on our 4-star parent aware rating. And then also we're also DHS certified, so we're excited about that. Within the programs, we're doing a lot of training with staff on social emotional coaching support and strategies that they are able to provide to the students. Okay,
Hi, nice to see everyone. So our Adventure Club after-school childcare program located at Highland, North Park, and Valley View, that's on regular school days until 6 p.m. And then on non-school days, our 3 elementary schools join together at Highland. And on school release days, we are open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We've had 8 so far this year, with 1 remaining on March 27th. And then the summer, we're here at the Family Center, again, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then some of our special field trips and activities include a lot with Blooming Heights. Just last week, our students got to make homemade pasta with Mr. West, so that was a big hit. And then, as Tiffany mentioned, our programs are also DHS certified through the Department of Human Services. And then on to Encore. This is our 3rd year of our 21st Century Community Learning Center grant. We are jointly submitted with the Columbia Heights Recreation Program. We have programming at Highland, North Park, and Valley View on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays after school, as well as Columbia Academy on those 3 afternoons. We also offer morning programming at Valley View and Columbia Academy. Just to give you an idea of participants, for trimester 1, Highland had 170 participants, North Park had 140, and Valley View had 196. So we're serving a lot of students with Encore. And then at the high school, we had 175 participants for trimester 1. We're up for a number of high school participants, and that offers not really on a schedule like the other schools. That's more dependent on what class is being offered. But right now we are offering classes Monday through Friday after school. And then our collaboration with the recreation department and the library, we're working together to complement each other, as we don't offer programming like on Tuesday afternoons at the elementary and Columbia Academy. They're then offering Tuesday afternoon programs as well as some Saturday programs to be able to offer more opportunities for our students. And some of our community organizations that we work with, Spark Y, this year we're partnering with the YMCA for a Junior Leaders Club, Puppetry, Dance, French Alliance, lots of different collaborations that we're working with in the community. And then our aquatics program for Encore on Saturday mornings, that's grades 4th through 12th. We have mostly 4th and 5th grade enrollment, but this is our 3rd year of offering lessons, and now we're starting to see more of 6th and 7th grade. So those are students that have stayed with us now for 3 years. So that's great to see some of the older grades, not only as just a great life skill learning how to swim, but also hopefully a feeder program into the Columbia Heights swim team. Driver's education, we had a class in October. We have one coming up in February and May, and we'll offer one more in June. And then our SHIP school health improvement plan, we're working on a catch curriculum with our elementary students, which is just easy games and transition activities. And we're working with hopefully more scratch cooking. And then trimester 3, the high school is going to be offering an outdoor club. So hopefully with some supplies that SHIP will support with that class. And for summer sports, last year we were able to increase our number of sports offerings. We had swimming and diving, girls basketball, football, gymnastics, dance, lacrosse, and strength training. And this summer we are hoping to have the addition of tennis, soccer, and track to our youth camps. And to Amada.
Hello, thank you. Our adult enrichment classes, so we collaborate with Fridley and Spring Lake Park. Our classes that are for dancing, art, and cooking are off-site, off of the Columbia Heights campus, but we do collaborate and work together. We have classes that are offered by individual instructors as well as local organizations. This spring, we are working with Outfront Minnesota for a new class on LGBTQ awareness. And our classes are very fun, affordable, and close to home, so Fridley or Columbia Heights. This year, we are doing quite a few day trips coming up this spring. And we are continuing our senior event pass, as we've been doing in the past. So if seniors who are 60 years and older live in the Columbia Heights district, they can apply for this, and they can attend high school events for free. So any of the sporting events or theater, band, I generally bring these passes up in all of the senior classes, and with the Columbia Heights, the City of Columbia Heights senior program over at Mershon Hall. and sign up people there and let them know about what's happening with the high school programming. We also offer a 10% discount for seniors unless the classes are otherwise notified that they don't do that. But we have defensive driving and work with Minnesota Safety Council and senior linkage as well. And as I mentioned, we have some day trips. This past fall, we went on a guided tour of the state capitol. We met with our state senator, Carolyn Lane, at the Capitol as well. We toured the Minneapolis water treatment plant in Columbia Heights. And coming up this spring, we are seeing Mamma Mia tomorrow. That's all full, so I'm sorry we don't have any room. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to Stillwater for a trip to the courthouse and to the Lowell Inn. Also the Como Conservatory for a guided tour in March. Going to the New Bell Museum in April and a planetarium show. And then looking forward to seeing Frozen, the Broadway musical, in May. The Frozen musical especially is all ages, so I'm definitely letting people know that it's not just a seniors class, a seniors event. It's in the evening, so anyone 8 years old and up is welcome to come with their adult guardian. But please sign up as early as you can. Classes do fill up, and the classes are available online and in our class catalog.
Thank you. Additionally, to community ed, we've got the Blooming Heights School Garden, our farm to school programs throughout the district, our Metro North ABE program. Community Education has a Community Education Advisory Council, and they help us to determine what kinds of programs we should be offering and make sure that we are serving the community. If anyone is interested in joining the Community Ed Advisory Council, please contact me. I oversee all of the community ed programs and collaborations, and I also serve as a liaison to our Fridley Columbia Heights Rotary Club, which our district benefits from that collaboration through the dictionary distribution, through the Strive program, and through other ways as well. So we are grateful for the role of Rotary in the club, in the community, and then youth exchange facilitation. So I like to say that community education is complementary education to the K-12 system, and I hope that you've heard that this evening. And we are all just very grateful and honored to be able to support the community here in Columbia Heights Public Schools. Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions, comments?
Lots going on.
Thank you, yes.
I actually do have one. I saw frequently the DHS certified. Could you go into that a little bit?
I'm going to let Jody and Tiffany go into that because they have really become experts for us in that. Thank you.
Yeah, so last year, we became certified through the Department of Human Services, and that's through the Department of Education. We have to be certified in order to receive child care assistance funding, which a large percentage of our mini adventures and adventure club families receive. So we have a licensor who comes out to our program. She was just here a couple weeks ago. She'll come back in the summer, just making sure we're compliant in all of their areas. One new thing for staff is that they do have to receive a federal background study now with fingerprinting. That's across all child cares who receive that. So that is new for our staff, and they'll be going through that here in actually the next month or so.
I want to reiterate to what John said. I mean, there's always something going on. I feel like you guys have done a great job keeping our students busy and making sure there's great opportunities for them. And Amada, I think even I'm seeing more and more kind of with the adult enrichment and senior programming, so I really appreciate what you've done. Maybe it's because I'm older now. Maybe that's what it is. But John's retired now, so I think he can participate in a couple more.
We can go see Frozen too.
Yeah.
There might have been a couple discounts that I could take.
Yes. So, but you guys, what a great job you do for all of our learners from birth and beyond. So thank you for your hard work.
I just had one other question, speaking of senior discounts.
I didn't call it that.
I am. I'm talking about the senior discount. The pass that you are talking about for Columbia Heights residents, how, if they aren't connecting with you at one of the events, how would they go about getting one of those?
They can come to the front office and get one there, or I bring them with me when I have classes. So I usually introduce it at all of the classes where I think that there'll be more seniors in the class. But when I go to the to Merchant Hall to the senior center, I also bring them there.
Okay.
So kind of out to the community and then in classes here. And then people usually raise their hand and want to know what's happening with the high school. So I think it's a great connection.
Wonderful.
And really let seniors know that the students are doing all this hard work. We want to fill those seats, and we want everyone to feel like they're included and they're benefiting.
Absolutely, and I was just clarifying, so we can send them to the desk here, and that would be.
Door 2 at the Family Center.
Thank you.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Someone is there eager to check IDs and give out a senior pass, and they do not expire. So they
Perfect.
don't have to come back annually, and then the
okay.
ticket takers are aware of those.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you for asking.
That's exactly what I wrote. I wrote senior event pass. I think that's a really valuable part of, we're trying to create this familial community and having people who have more experience and who are elders in our community coming to band concerts and watching the little ones struggle and then improve. I mean, what a fun thing that could be to have more seniors, and just, I encourage you to be creative with showing them our schedules. I don't know, like, I'm sure you're doing a great job, but I encourage you to invite, and we would love to see people using those passes a lot. So, thank you. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, mid-year report on diversion committee.
Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. This evening, we are here to provide an update, our mid-year update on the work that we are, which is part of a settlement agreement on diversion. So we are lucky enough this year to have Nathan Meyer working as our diversion supervisor and also assistant principal at North Park. Our mission is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And the core values that we will be focusing on this evening are excellence, collaboration, integrity, respect, and courage. There's no governance follow-up with this. This will be an informational update. Talk about our goals.
Yeah, so Chair Severson, Superintendent Kelly, members of the board, I'm super excited to be here tonight to update you on this. And you can see, so our settlement agreement, we had 5 goals that were laid out. And because of the hard work of Leslie Shirk last year and Zena Stenvik, we have made some really good progress on meeting those goals. So we are continuing that work this year. You will see that the first 3 strategies we have accomplished. The first one is to create a student behavior handbook, which all students have received at the beginning of last year and this year, pre-K-12, across the board, to create uniform expectations and guidelines across the district, to establish a district-wide admin discipline assessment team, which we have done. We meet monthly. Every building has an assistant principal who is represented on there, and then there are also district-level representation as well. And then to explore the possibilities of funding a district discipline supervisor, which is me. So that one was successful. And then we have 2 ongoing strategies to provide professional development, and we'll get into the development, the PD that we have given so far this year. And then also to obtain qualitative engagement data and input from parents, students, and teachers. And that is another ongoing strategy that we were working on. Last year, we were foiled by weather more than once on nights when we had parent meetings scheduled. So it is definitely something we are still working on. So our second strategy was to create a district discipline assessment team. DDAT is what we call it. And it's our purpose is to reduce the disproportionalities among suspensions between students of color and white students and students who receive special education services and students who are in general education. And what we have found, our preliminary data shows that over the past 3 years, we have greatly reduced the number of suspensions in our buildings, which is amazing. Kids are just at school more, which is a really good thing. We are not sending them home. And then we know that we have work to do still. Disparities persist among race and educational setting. So that is where we are spending a lot of our time in our DDAT meetings every month. And just a quick overview of the work that we have done so far this year. So at the beginning of every single meeting, we look at the data, the number of suspensions, and then their proportionality. We look at race, gender, and educational setting by the district, and then each school pulls their own data too. So then we set some goals in September. In October, we looked at our data again. We looked at our school-wide discipline and interventions, and then also every month I attend a meeting at the Minnesota Department of Human Rights with all of the other districts that are in a settlement agreement, so I update the DDAT on that. In November, we looked more at our disproportionalities and again at the work that is happening in buildings, and it feels kind of repetitive, but there is a lot of good work that is happening in our buildings, and so a lot of what we do when we come together is to share that work. So our first real concrete example of that is in December. Assistant Principal Kulik from Highland shared, they have a program called Innocent Classrooms that is happening there this year that has been just the anecdotal data and the preliminary results have been really, really positive from teachers and staff. And so he talked about the work that they're doing there and shared strategies that are working. And then we also started reading a book called Coaching Conversations as we work to have better conversations about this, because it can be a difficult topic to discuss, especially when we're talking about race and educational setting. And so figuring out how we can help each other do better. And then coming up, we meet this Thursday is our January meeting, and I'm really excited because Assistant Principal Otsby from Columbia Academy is going to share about the 30-60-90 program that they run there, which is an intervention for students coming into the building who they know are going to need more support. And then every month as well, we share, or Zena, Executive Director Stenvik, and I present to the E12 admin meeting.
So some of the professional development that we've worked on just semester one really focuses on reducing disproportionalities, culturally relevant practices, bias, teacher language, and all of those supports that we can put in place proactively and reactively with our students. So our district equity team continues to meet along with our school equity teams. Innocent Classroom is going at Highland Elementary with every grade and every staff member. They have 5 trainings throughout the school year. So they just keep hitting that and really working through it. And as Assistant Principal Meyer mentioned, we are getting positive feedback on really working. And it seems to be hitting what we're aiming for, is reducing that disproportionality, because we have already significantly reduced the out-of-school suspensions. Just this month, we had Dr. Mohammed Khalifa in and talking about cultural competency. Every licensed staff in the district participated in that. And then Jit Kundan was in as well, talking about the effects of trauma, ACEs, and culturally responsive teaching. Again, all pre-K 5 and 6-12 licensed staff participated in that. Earlier in the semester, Carolyn Rotman came to talk about that empowering teacher language and what our words and how our words affect our students and setting up that environment for learning. We've run EL strategies for non-EL teachers, so really trying to understand and have empathy for our students who are learning English. We have a national presenter from Solution Tree focusing in on PLCs, and we really feel that academics is directly tied to, and increasing academics is directly tied to the health and well-being of our students. Kids want to be in class more, they're more successful. And then other breakout sessions around culturally responsive literature, engaging families around academics, and connecting with families. Connecting with families is a big theme for, in teaching and learning this year, and for the district discipline team as well. So similar to last year, the board will be presented with the data further along in the year.
Questions? Yeah, thank you. I think we've heard a lot about professional development this year. Strong theme of professional development this year. So congrats to all of you. Thanks. Thanks for coming out. And we'll keep you, Zena, so you can tell us about the American Indian Education Parent Committee concurrence.
Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. This evening, I'm here representing the American Indian Parent Education Group. They were not able to attend this evening with me, but we'll be back to the board level at a different time. Presenting the resolution of concurrence. Our mission is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. And the core values we are focusing on this evening are community and respect. So this evening is information for the school board. I will be back, hopefully with a team, on February 11th with a governance question seeking approval of the American Indian Resolution of Concurrence. So this is part of Minnesota State Statute 124D.78. All Minnesota districts and tribal schools with 10 or more American Indian students are required to have an American Indian Parent Advisory Committee. Our committee is very active and strong. School boards of districts must provide for the maximum involvement of parents and children enrolled in education programs, programs for elementary and secondary grades, special education programs, and support services. So what is the work of the PAC, we call it, the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee? They review data, so we set goals and then they are presented with the data and the metrics. They inform the American Indian education programming, so what's going to happen with the funding and with the programming. They make recommendations to the district and the school board, and they vote annually on concurrence. So when we look at American Indian education programming, there's really 6 different areas. So starting at the top with Valerie Larson, our American Indian specialist. She works during the school day with groups of American Indian students focused on a combination of academics and culture groups. And then she teaches an encore class after school as well, and that really is focused on the cultural teachings. She also, at the secondary level, middle school and high school, she's a trained Check and Connect mentor. So she checks in with those students and talks to them about their homework and talks to their parents and encourages them and supports them to make sure they're staying on track. We have robust family activities. And then the Parent Advisory Committee meets regularly. And then inclusive curriculum and instruction is not funded directly through the American Indian Parent or the American Indian federal and state funding. This is more teaching and learning funding, but that's really a curriculum and instruction about American Indian topics for all students. So you can see some of the photos we've included. Students making pouches in the class with Valerie Larson. In the lower corner, this is like Miss American Indian Education Minnesota. She came out to be a role model for some of our students one Saturday morning. I chose to not include the photo of Superintendent Kelly, who was also there with us, getting in there, fixing and amending some of the machines, or the one person's machine. Students came and families came. We had 3 generations in the room to make ribbon skirts, and Valerie Larson presented the teachings and what's the meaning behind the ribbon skirts. And then there was some really good food that day too. We had fry bread. In the lower corner, this year, Valerie really wanted to have a kickoff picnic for the families. And so some of our regular families came, but also new families to the district. And they were really welcomed that way. And here they're doing an activity. And then just some of the literature that we use. And of course, our powwows coming up again this spring. So. The committee recently met to go over the resolution for concurrence, and they discuss and vote for concurrence or not. So I'm pleased to present to you this year
The committee did vote to issue concurrence, and they say that we agree with the contents and implementation of the Indian Education Program Plan and commit to evaluating the plan at the end of the school year to ensure that it is continuing to meet the needs of the American Indian students. So if there's any questions.
Questions?
And it's kind of a little bit out in the weeds. I know with the parent advisory committee for the American Indian, it's a phenomenal group of parents. I mean, they're really highly involved. And I know that they usually do their budgeting. Is that going to be coming forward on where they're going to be focusing the very limited dollars that they'll actually have to spend? I was just kind of curious as to what direction is going with that.
Yep, I believe that some of that data was presented. Perhaps you might not have been at that meeting, but I could certainly.
I don't usually miss meetings, so I don't know how I would have missed it. So.
I'll have to look at the date and.
Okay,
and
it would have been last year.
So this fall we present. Every fall we have to turn it in.
Okay, that's it.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
this just seemed like a big lag between the two of them. So, but this
Perhaps
is
we could put that in there.
So I'd be happy to reissue that and put that in the update. Yeah.
really hard on where they want to focus those dollars, and I know it's not very much, but they really do a great job with it.
Some of the goals and activities are very similar to previous years around literacy, graduation rate, continuing our 100% graduation rate for our American Indian students, cultural activities and family engagement, and the tutoring and mentoring of students. So they really didn't. The goals themselves haven't changed. The dollars changed just a hair. So but we'll definitely put that in the update. And then just one final plug, this Saturday, our American Indian families are coming together to hear from an elder from Pipestone, Minnesota, to hear about the Pipestone quarries, and the students will get to actually carve some little animals out of Pipestone. So we're very excited about that.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, and we'll see you back on the 11th.
Thank you, Zoe.
Welcome Director Sundstrom up to tell us the financial forecast.
Okay. Good evening, Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. Tonight I'm going to share the forecast for 2021. And our mission is creating worlds of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. The core values I want to highlight during this presentation are excellence and integrity. So School Board Policy 714 is our minimum fund balance policy, and the range for that is between 6 and 12%. So you can see up here a history of that fund balance percentage for the last 5 years. So with the 2019 audit that was presented to you in November, we're at a 12.5% fund balance, you can see. So what isn't showing here right now is the 2020 budget, the year that we're in. You adopted a preliminary budget in June of last year, and we're working on revising that right now. So this is probably going to remain the same. I think it will go down a little bit when we get done with the budget. So the next thing is showing the fund balances of just the general fund. And as you can see with that 12.5%, the bottom, the orange is the unassigned, and that's the part that we can work with. The gold is restricted, and it's restricted by the legislative, requires us to have restrictions, and assigned is district assigned, and also non-spendable has already been spent. It's prepaids and inventory. So you can see it just follows the graph that we have a high unassigned for this at this time at the end of the audit. The general ed aid, the legislature did give us 2 and 2 the last session. So that was good, but it just doesn't keep up with inflation. So that's just a graph showing what we've gotten every year for the Gen Ed formula. Okay, so our general fund sources of revenue, our biggest source of revenue is state funds, and that's $40 million, and that's 80% of our budget. So our general ed aid is in that. It's 24 million of that 40 million. So that is going up 2%. So 2% of that, the 24 million is going up. We're going to get about 480,000 for that. So these are the 2020-21 budget assumptions. And I just have a page and a half of these. The budgeted enrollment is currently 3230. So that's what was on our last report. And so we're going to budget for 21, 3180. So that's 50 down from where we currently are. The elementary enrollment may continue to decline. It declined slightly this year that we're in, and we're anticipating it may decline next year. We're not sure. Secondary enrollment remains stable. The high school has remained stable, and so has Columbia Academy. The high school grade 10, which is our grade 9 this year, it's pretty high. We're going to keep that closed to open enrollment next year because that grade is at 300. I think it's 307 currently. So Columbia Academy, all grades will remain closed to open enrollment next year because it is at capacity at 750 students. The class sizes are still going to be maintained at an average of 24-1 in the elementary and 30-1 secondary, and that was set by the board, by you. Revenues in the area of integration aid, entitlement grants, and compensatory aid, these are all tied to free and reduced applications, and the applications have been, we haven't been getting as many people applying, so those revenue streams are going to decline in 21. There has been stable revenue, not enough revenue, but stable revenue for gifted and talented aid. That's been stable for the last few years. This is an assumption that the cross-subsidy aid will decrease a tiny bit because of the new aid, but it's still a substantial cost to the district. It's still $5.6 million cross-subsidy. Salary and benefit costs for settled contracts, we have input them as actual. They're all settled. The TRA contribution increases. It's going up 0.21% every year. That's the district share of the TRA. The employee share is remaining the same. We're assuming that there will be faculty and staff retirements. We're just not sure right now. It's a little early for us to know that. We're assuming the healthcare costs will increase 3 to 6% because we do have the healthcare bid out. We are also assuming that activities and the levels that we have the activities for athletics and activities will remain the same. Transportation costs will increase by 3%, and that's the second year of the Monarch contract. We do know that. That's an actual. DSEG transportation aid may decline significantly. We're waiting to hear from the state how that will go. General education formula, the increase is 2%, you saw already. There could be a possible limited expansion of some elementary programs, and we are setting aside some revenue for a North Park Blue Ribbon Advisory Committee implementation plan. So the assumptions for the staff roll-up, the costs are $745,000. The benefits, that's the health insurance increase, is going to be an increase of $350,000. And the fees and purchase services that would include the transportation increase is $250,000. So that total is little over 1.3 million that the expenditures are going to go up for 21. And we're still working out the rest of it. So that's all I have.
All right. I know we talked about this at length at our work session last week, but do you have any new questions or questions you'd like to ask?
I have a question. Denise always tries to anticipate my questions. This is one.
You're trying to stump me now.
I know, right? And you might not have the answer to this, but on the last slide that you showed, you kind of showed our roll-up costs and what those increases are. Do you know what that is as a percentage? You know, looking at the general education funding, has been a 2% increase, and that's not keeping up kind of with what we just know in terms of our costs. Do you know what that is based on as a percentage?
It's not, it's about 4%. Yeah.
So our just, what I'll say, non-controllable expenses is a 4% increase, while the general education funding is a 2% increase.
Actually going to make the same statement. It's less of a question, more of a statement. I think I'll just be frank. Is the 2% from the state. It's hard when you see the news that says the government gave a $500 million increase to education. You hear that and you're like, oh, we're doing our, they're doing their part. And then when you look at that, that's actually 2%. And and this is just for people who are watching, if you would like to contact your representatives, that would be excellent. Talk about inflation. But the idea that our roll-ups are going up about 4%, our transportation is going up 3%, and that's in a non-contract year, and our health is going up 3 to 6, and that's always variable. And then you talk about all the other things that are happening around the district that cost increasing amounts of money. That 2% just actually keeps us getting further in the hole and having less money available for general education, which is a sad reality for all our students, I think. So thank you for being responsible, though, for our money and doing great things with it. I mean,
Thank you.
yeah. Other questions?
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, building capacity. Director Stenvik.
Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. I'm here this evening to discuss the current grade 9, which is over 300 students. This level of student enrollment is beyond capacity for the grade level, and as we're forecasting into the next school year for the 2021 school year, as these students move into 10th grade, the administration is recommending that Columbia Heights High School grade 10 remain closed to open enrollment, and then reopening up the grade 9 for next school year. So this is a quick informational update, and I'll be back seeking approval for grade 10 to remain closed to open enrollment next school year. I'll be back on February 11th.
All right. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next is me, the school board member, school liaison role definition. I know this is something that we discussed at our last meeting, our work session. And we had talked about changing it. If you'll look in your packet on page 74, you'll see the language. The only changes we made from the draft we look at was adding the word school in both the kind of the main headers of each section of the document. This will be on our next meeting as an agenda item to approve this and make it official, but I wanted to open it up for any discussion people might have. Any concerns?
So this is, and for people who are listening too, this is defining our roles. Like, for example, I had mentioned during my board report that as I'm the liaison to Columbia Academy, so one of the things that I did was attend the PTO meeting and then come back and report to the board. So it's defining kind of some ways that we can perform these liaison roles. So the principals and the staff and teachers know kind of what to expect from their liaison and what we can expect from each other.
Yes, and this is something that we actually talked about as a group, was it this time last year? And so we've been working from this document, but we thought it was important to make it official board, move it from draft to final. And so we've been looking at this for quite a while. You guys have any more thoughts? Thank you for that clarification, though. That's helpful. All right, then this will be back February 11th, and we'll vote on it then. All right, on to action items. North Park roof bids. Sounds exciting. Thank you, Director Hennekins.
Okay, Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. Before you this evening, we are seeking approval to move forward to request bids for some additional North Park roof work. But I wanted to give you just a little bit more information on North Park. We know we have a bond referendum project out there and a lot going on, and we just completed a roof project out there. So I just wanted to provide a little bit more information. Of course, our mission, Columbia Heights Public Schools, creates a world of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong, all succeed. Core values of excellence, collaboration, integrity, and innovation. And I'll explain that in a minute. So this is just an aerial view of North Park as it is today. And Director Sundstrom and I have been working on some additional solar panel work on that roof. And I think that's where we start talking about innovation a little bit and how we're getting our energy and consuming our energy and costs. So we've replaced the two sections of roof where the solar panels are currently. And we had an opportunity to expand our solar panels through an existing program that we were grandfathered into, and we qualify through our free and reduced numbers. And so we started looking at opportunities and where we would do that, and we were in the midst of engaging in a roof study throughout the district with Garland. And we've identified at North Park that the remainder sections of the roof, with the exception of the 1998 addition on the top part there, are in dire need. And as you look at this picture, you see that those middle sections of the roof and how dark they are. They're dark like that because drainage is not good. Water is pooling throughout that area. And those roofs those sections are in bad shape and need replacement. And through the study identified in the next 2 to 3 years, we should look at replacing those roofs. And then the other sections of roof, though they look a lot better, towards the left of the screen there, are actually 5 years older, or actually 6 years older, and beyond their life expectancy, or at the end of their life expectancy. So with the addition on that roof, with that classroom addition up there in red, we have to tie into the existing roof. And when we do that, it means we're cutting into the existing roof by about 2 feet. So now is the time to replace those roofs, because we don't want to temporarily patch that and then 2 years later now have to go back to the roof. We can be much more efficient since we're doing it now. So that's kind of why we're going right back to North Park and talking about doing more roofs. And this is a long-term facilities maintenance project, so that's where the dollars will come for this. So this just kind of gives you a layout of the roofs. So we have, actually it's 9 years, sorry. But we have our 2019 roof sections at the top. And then there's that green 1998 section. And then all the red is what we anticipate doing in this project. So the 1998 pieces and the 1989. Now those 1998, again, we're not draining well, and they're just not meeting life expectancy because the water was not draining off of those roof sections. So through that, we'll have to add additional drains to make sure that in the future we don't have that problem. So I just wanted to kind of give you the background, a little bit of why we're continuing moving with roofs out at North Park. And again, it's long-term facility maintenance dollars. We will be coming a lot. Every year we will be coming for at least one section of roof in the near future, just because we have a lot of sections of roof that are 89 and mid-90s. So, and this is just our starting point. And again, efficiencies with the project already going there, it just makes sense. Any questions?
Go ahead, Laura.
That we did last year, that the big concern was whether or not we were going to be doing the repair across the whole thing, and you'd said at the time that it made more sense to do it as part of the project. So this was actually fully expected. I wasn't aware that we were going to have to do additional drainage and stuff like that, so I appreciate the update on that.
Yep.
I'd like to see it last a little bit longer. I was actually looking at that and thinking, I actually had a child over at North Park in 1989. You know, that roof was relatively new. So, yeah.
Our new roofs that we're putting in have a 40-year life expectancy, and then with proper maintenance, we can extend that. So once we get to that 30-year range to 35-year range, you know, we can kind of peel just the top off, redo that part, and we can extend that roof's life. So moving forward, having an appropriate plan, we'll be able to extend these roofs a lot longer.
That's nice. I was going to ask about the warranty on that. I don't know what the lifespan is of like commercial flat roofing. Lorian, you probably do, huh? It seems short, right? It seems short, but I don't know. But I'm glad to hear that we're adding drainage because we don't want to be back in the same situation
Right.
in 20 years.
With our current roofs, we should be getting around 30 years. And like I said, with the one sections, there wasn't appropriate drainage. And so we really need to deal with that. And then, like I said, we expect 40 years and more from our roofs in the future with what we're putting in now.
Awesome. Imagine it being 2060 now.
What about the green sections?
So the green sections, so those were done in 1998. They're in really good shape. There's no reason to change them at this point. They will be on the list for, you know, maintenance once we get to that 25-year into 30-year range. And again, it just depends on how we do a study every few years on how the roofs are aging, and then we can decide what's our progression for maintaining those roofs so we can extend their life, because we can extend their life another 15 years easy. So just by maintaining, so it's a fraction of the cost of replacing the roof completely. So we really want to be able to extend the roof's lives and maximize that life. It just saves money in the long run.
All right, any other questions? All right, so we need a motion to carry this forward.
We'll move.
John, second?
Second.
Molly, any further discussion? Which we just had. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, discontinuance of programs and positions, a resolution. We'll invite Director Bennett to give us a little feedback on this, and then we'll bring it to a motion.
Chair Severson, members of the board, Superintendent Kelly. This is an annual resolution we bring forward to the board, and what it does is direct the superintendent administration to start looking at discontinuance of positions and programs so that we can balance the school district budget. Again, it's an annual resolution, and it really starts the staffing process. We did present it last night at the district finance committee so they could see the language used and what we consider when we start doing our staffing process. So tonight we're here seeking approval.
All right. So what I'll do is ask for a motion to move this forward.
So moved.
Laura, second?
Second.
All right, and then I'm going to read the motion. It says, resolution directing the administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons thereof. Whereas the special education cross-subsidy has grown over the last 5 years, necessitating a 9.5% increase in the school district's general fund needed to cover this obligation, and whereas the school district budget is based on projected enrollments, and whereas the financial condition of the school district is dependent on federal, state, and local revenues, and these have not been sufficient to cover the total cost of ownership for the school district expenses, and whereas transportation costs are projected to increase, and whereas the school district has an obligation to balance the budget on an annual basis, and whereas reductions in expenditures in school finances may include discontinuance of positions and discontinuance of curtailments of programs if necessary, and whereas a determination must be made as to which faculty and staff contracts and programs may be terminated and not renewed, and which licensed staff may be placed on unrequested leave of absence without pay or fringe benefits in effecting discontinuance of positions and programs. Now, Therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District Number 13, Columbia Heights, hereby directs the Superintendent of Schools and Administration to consider the discontinuance of positions and/or programs to effectuate economies in the school district and reduce expenditures, make recommendations to the school board for the discontinuance of position, curtailments of positions, discontinuance of programs, curtailment of programs in order to balance the school budget. All right, any discussion? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. As you mentioned, this is an annual thing, and I wish it wasn't. I wish annually we didn't have to talk about a discontinuance of programs or finding efficiencies if we has talked about in the past. But as we just had Director Sundstrom talk to us about where our financial situation is at, kind of where our expenses are, what we're expecting, and what are some of our unknowns, we've got a fiscal responsibility as the board and an obligation to our taxpayers, and that walks a very fine line with balancing our obligations to provide exceptional educational opportunities to our students and an incredible work experience for our staff. So you have all of these things trying to play together and not enough money to do it. And so I think while it's challenging, we have an obligation as a board to ask the administration and Superintendent Kelly to say, where are there some opportunities where we can find some efficiencies, to look at some cost reductions so that we can continue to provide the educational services and experiences that all of our students and families expect, while being fiscally responsible.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was just going to say something probably not quite as eloquent, but similar, taking me back to my previous maybe little soapbox where I mentioned the inflation compared to the state increase in revenue and how that does affect our general education budget. And it makes us need to create efficiencies with staff and programming that we don't want to create either. We would like to have, I know we create worlds of opportunities, but we would like to have even more opportunities for students than we're able to afford. And unlike other areas, we aren't allowed to operate in a loss over the long run. We need to keep that balance fund above zero. We can't make the choice to go into debt to fund the school district. So thanks. Thank you for listening.
I've got something to add too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, in addition to that too, because I mean, obviously that's the funding is what we have. But I know all of the hard work that everybody does in looking at all these programs to make sure that we're right sized in where we need to be. That where we're actually putting all of this effort into is the best for our district. So it's a great opportunity. Even during this is to find out maybe we're spending a little bit too much over here, and over here we're being really successful, and we can invest a little bit more there. So it is a really huge process that you're undertaking. That's why we have to issue this, pass this so early in the school year. It's because it'll give you opportunities to make sure that we get everything right in place. And really, again, I really do appreciate all the work that goes into this process.
Yeah, I like that phrase, right-sized. That's what we want.
It's exactly, yeah, it's exactly that. To find out class to support underneath it, and another program just doesn't have the attendance, and a lot of our upper grades. I mean, I've never heard of 300 students, and that's going to be a really long graduation night. We can do the first half one night and the second half the second night.
Yeah, didn't somebody say there's more kids in the high school than there has been in the last 25 years or something like that? Yeah, it's awesome.
That's fantastic.
All right, but back to topic, discontinuance of programs. This is a resolution. Any further discussion? All right, we'll need a roll call vote on this one.
Larkin?
Aye.
Mueller?
Aye.
Severson?
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Lewis? Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. We can move on to board topics. Does anybody have anything they'd like to announce or chat about?
Can I just reiterate that and from my notes, the Columbia Heights Police Department Blood Drive, Wednesday, February 26th from 10 to 4. And you can contact Becky at the Columbia Heights Police Department to sign up.
Right.
It is Educational Assistance Week, and I'd like to give a shout out to all of our wonderful EAs that we have working for Columbia Heights Public Schools. Thank you for everything you do.
Yes, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's great. Any other announcements? Topics? All right, hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting at 8:34 PM.